This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay. Agun Erev Shabbos Harboisai, as we prepare for Parshas Tazria, Mitzorah, Agun Chodesh, we prepare for Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh Iyar. Today's Shiurim are sponsored by Mrs. Yudis Nathan, in memory of her husband, Erwin Nathan, Yisrael Mordechai ben Yehuda Leib, who was the Rosh Kollel of this learning program for many years. We remember him very fondly, somebody who kept the Shiurim going for quite some time and was a very dedicated participant in the Shiurim for many, many years, among his other mitzvahs and ma'asim tovim. So we wish on this occasion his whole family should remember him l'tov, and his neshama shem naliyah b'yamei ososha for his whole mishpacha b'yeskel tzedek. Okay, Parshas Tazria. Now, this is the Parsha of Tzaras. It's interesting that in middle of the Parsha, Agavorcha, where it talks about a woman, Isha ki Tazria v'yalda zachar v'tamah shivas yomim kimei tumas v'isa titma. It's really irrelevant that the kid has a bris milah on the 8th day. The fact that you circumcise the kid on the 8th day is not relevant to any of the halachas of this week's Parsha. You don't have to say that you should serve bagels at the bris. It's, the whole subject of bris milah is not connected or even needed to know for any of the halachos. Why is this the occasion that the Torah chooses to teach that you do a bris milah on the 8th day? We already had that in Parshas Lech Lecha. But we could explain as follows. This is the Parsha of Tzaras. We know Tzaras comes on Lashon Hara. There's a very important idea that the bris milah corresponds to one's mouth. There's an idea that someone who has loosened their tongue will be perhaps will act improperly with Kedushas HaBris. The bris hapeh and the bris ha'arla are connected. There's a connection between the mouth and the bris milah. In fact, the gematria of milah is 85, the same as peh. Or if you look in this 12th chapter of Tehillim, Lam Natseach al Hashminis, which is a song about the Shminis, the bris milah. Nothing is mentioned there about bris milah. The whole mizmar is about the mouth. So since this is the Parsha Mitzorah, of what happens when one is not circumspect with one's mouth, it is the appropriate location to talk about bris milah, because the bris milah is what maintains the kedusha not only of the bris but of the peh as well. Okay, another interesting idea. How do you say hem in Aramaic? Imra. Which, by the way, the Gemara says in Tainus, what did Moshe Rabbeinu wear when he was the presiding Kohen during the 7 days of the Miluim? The Gemara says, Beged Lavan, a white garment, she'ein lo imra, that did not have a hem. Why is a hem called imra, speaking? So the Maral says, because what is the purpose of a hem? A hem is really the finishing touch of a garment. You have a garment, but it just needs that final stitch to keep the edging smooth. So the hem is the makeh b'patish of a garment. So too the power of speech is the makeh b'patish of man. God created man's physical form. Vayivra Elokim es ha'adam. God created man's soul. Vayipach be'apav nishmas chayim. What's the finishing touch that fuses body and soul? Vayhi ha'adam lenefesh chaya. The power of speech. Speech is the makeh b'patish of man. As the Gemara Nida says, that when a person is about to be born, the malach comes, he hits him on the mouth. That indicates that's the makeh b'patish. The koyach hadibur on the peh is the makeh b'patish of man. Therefore, whenever you say something that's the final touch, like a hem, it's called imra. It just struck me that Rashi, in telling us in this week's Parsha what the Hebrew word for imra is, Rashi says the Hebrew word is safa. Safa can mean edge, could also mean lips, speaking. So it's another instance where we see that the final touch of something is connected to the Kayach HaDibor. Next, the end of the Parsha, it says, the Kohen comes, and he's expecting that the nega would dissipate, would have become small. The pasuk says, "V'hinei lo nepach hanega es einai." The nega did not change, literally, its eye. So Rashi says it means it didn't change its color. The word eye here means its color. But that's not what it says. Literally it says, the nega did not change his eye. And I think this could be explained very beautifully. The Gemara Masechta Taina says that any woman whose eyes are beautiful, you don't have to check her. That's all you need to know. And if her eyes are not beautiful, you need to give her a full investigation. Which seems to indicate that if someone has beautiful eyes, that means they're beautiful. And if someone has ugly eyes, they're ugly. So the Kli Yakar says, he asks, there are many nashim that have beautiful eyes and they're ugly. And there are many women who have ugly eyes, but they might be beautiful. Why would the Gemara say that any kala whose eyes are yafeh, ein sarach bedika? We could explain as follows. Rabbeinu Yoina tells us in the Shari Tshuva, Shar Gimel, there are two problems with speaking Lashon Hara. The first thing is, you could cause someone damage. If you say someone's not so smart, maybe they won't get a job, maybe they won't get a shidduch. So number one, the first problem with Lashon Hara is hezek. Number two, and this is more of a midah, and that is, this person has so many good qualities. Why do you choose to focus on their negative? Like my kids like to sing, nega, 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 negativity is a nega tsaras. If you don't know that song, we could learn it a different time. But anyway, the fact that you honed in on the person's deficiency is a bad midah. It means you have an ayin ra, because you could have looked at their positives. Like the story the Shar Tshuva brings down about a Rebbe and his Talmidim were passing by a carcass, and the Talmidim said, "Look how disgusting the carcass is," and the Rebbe said, "No, look how beautiful the teeth are." That's the midah we're talking about. The midah of Lashon Hara is ayin ra, looking at the person's deficiency. The way to overcome that is to get an ayin toiv. This is the meaning of kol kala she'eineha yafais ein sarach bedika. A woman who has a good eye, meaning she looks at a situation, she's able to see the good, that means that's a good person. Someone who looks at a situation and they see the bad, that indicates that there's something deficient in them. Like the Shari Tshuva brings, where do flies hang out? Flies hang out in the garbage. They don't hang out in an ivory tower in a nice office building. Why? Because flies are creepy. Therefore, they're more comfortable in filth. So to someone who always points out deficiency, it reveals that they like to focus on deficiency because they are deficient. So we could come back and explain, this is the meaning, Loi hafach hanega einai. If the kohen comes back and he sees the nega did not change the eye of the Baal Lashon Hara. The Baal Lashon Hara, he's still at it. So it's not just, yes, we know literally it means it did not change its color, but it also means it did not change his eye. Okay. This one is mamish the gif min hashamayim. You ready for this? Is mamish geshmak. The pasuk ends, the Parsha ends, Zois Tairas Negat Saras Letahara Oy Letamei. I can't believe it. I was looking at this, no way. It ends with the word Letamei? Tazria ends with the word Letamei? Aren't you supposed to end off on a good note? It should end off Letamei Oy Letahara. Aren't you supposed to end off on a good note? Everybody knows. Masechta Nida ends Tanad Ve'Elyo Kol Hashar Nalach L'Chayam Muftach Shabban Laba. Tosfos says why? Because beforehand we're talking about Hilchos Tuma, so we want to end off on a good note. Tosfos says because we find Nevi'im Rishonim they've ended off on a good note. The Ramah even says in Siman. I don't know why the Siman was not written there. I think Kuf Lamed Ches. No, Kuf Chav Ches. The Rama says that you're supposed to end off on a good note. You're supposed to end off on a good note. So, what's the reason why we do not end off on a good note in Parshas Tazria? You ready for this? This is Oya and Menorah. So I was thinking, I happened to see a Gemara Nazir, Samach Yom Beis. What's halacha by Safek Nega? You have a Safek Nega. You're Mesupik. Is it a Nega or not? Tameh or Tahar? The Gemara says Tahar. Minahani Mili. Amar Yudam Rav. Amar Kra. Letaharai oy letamai. Hayalu pasach boy akasav betara tchila. Since the pasuk says letaharai or letamai, Safek Nega is Tahar. So we can explain like this. Parshas Tazria ends off on a good note. You know what the good note is? By saying Tahara before Tumah, it teaches a nice thing. Safek is Tahar. That's ending off on a good note. It's ending off on a beautiful note. It puts Tahara before Tumah to teach Safek is Tahar. So I was looking around. I found in a random sefer called Limudei Das that Reb Lezer Plachinsky asked the Rugged Shaver this question: why does Tazria end off on a bad note? And the Rugged Shaver gave this answer, that it's to be merames to the din of Masechta Nazir, that it says Tara before Tumah to teach Safek is Tara. That's a good note. So it does end off on a good note. Okay. Last idea on Tazria. The Gemara Yevamah says Talmidei Rabbi Akiva died with Askara. Now this is a point that I didn't see anyone pick up on except in the certain sefer called Raptuni B'Tapuchim. That we know the Meraglim died by Askara, and the Meraglim died because of Lashon Hara. Normally Askara is attributed to Lashon Hara. Did the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva speak Lashon Hara? We don't find that. So the Sefer Raptuni B'Tapuchim says, a very interesting yesod, maybe we'll talk about it in coming weeks, is that because the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva were not Noihei Kavod Zelazeh, that had a ripple effect that the rest of Klal Yisrael spoke Lashon Hara. And therefore they died by Askara. So now we understand why during this Zman of the year we read the Parsha of Tzaras. Because we need to warn against Lashon Hara, because really the chait of the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva was that by not being Noyeg Kavod Zelazeh, they were goyreim Lashon Hara in Klal Yisrael. Okay, that's the. Those are the some ideas, some insights in Parshas Tazria. We're gonna break this up. Now we're gonna do your favorite part of the week.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.